This story I find hard to even form the words for. It involves wine from a storied vineyard in a country that has brought us some of the finest wines in the history of wine. Bear with me as I try to get through this. Hi, I'm Chris May, writer, producer, and host of This Day in Weather History from the Weather Network in Canada. On April 14th of 2019, wine growers in Burgundy, France faced a formidable foe, frost. This day in weather history. Spring is as much a pain in the grapes to vineyards as it is to us, with the ever-changing conditions and that irritating blend of seasons to provide a messy mix of temperatures, dew points, pressure gradients, and precipitation types. The worst of the precip is frost, a threat that has the potential to destroy an entire crop of grapes before it even begins. No! During winter, vines lie dormant. To be fair, the vines themselves are actually rather frost-hardy and can easily survive temperatures from 14 degrees Fahrenheit to as low as 5. And that translates to between minus 10 and minus 15 degrees Celsius. However, the situation changes dramatically once buds sprout their first green shoots. Then the frost damage begins when temperatures drop below 32 Fahrenheit. To be clear, that's still 0 degrees Celsius. Buds and shoots are made up of water inside, so when they freeze, the tender cell walls can actually crack or even burst. So now, let's discuss what happened on April 14th of 2019. Following a frost alert on that day, winemakers of Chassagne-Montrachet lit fires and placed heaters to fight the frost. As temperatures then dropped moderately below that 0 degree threshold with a relatively low humidity, luckily the damage was limited. Yet, winemakers trying to limit frost damage on their vines employ a variety of heating techniques to keep their crops warm. Some light fires to big old oil drums throughout their vineyards. Others use what's called bougies. I mean, wine is kind of bougie to begin with, but anyway, bougies are actually large paraffin candles that give off heat. I liked my definition better. The candles generate enough heat to keep frost contained and controlled, plus it has an added bonus of creating a protective smoke because it will not allow the warmth from the ground to rise. This coming from a winemaker in Austria. This next practice might sound counterintuitive, but some commercial vineyards run sprinklers through the night. This causes water to freeze over the tender buds. Wait, what? To protect grapes from frost, growers coat them with ice? All right, you lost me here. Remember that this day in weather history can be enjoyed a number of ways. Right now, you are listening to the full version of today's story on your favorite podcast provider, but there is also the daily podcast video short. They are shot right here in my podcast recording studio, so you get that perspective, and oftentimes they will include visuals from that day's event, from when it happened, in weather history. So after listening to the full story, go check out the podcast video short on television or online anytime at theweathernetwork.com/weather history. All right, water on the vines. So, the freeze-thaw cycle involved in this crazy idea actually generates heat in the transition. The amount of heat generated is small, but enough to get trapped between the green tissue and the ice and keep the vines protected as long as it doesn't get too cold, below 28 Fahrenheit or minus 2.2 Celsius on average, or stay cold for too long, and that would be more than a few hours. That's why accurate weather forecasts are critical in the fight against the frost. Of course, many vintners make it plain that there is a lot more that can be done to minimize frost damage, including try growing grape varietals that match your climate. Know your climate, live within it. It makes sense. Also, using fans and wind machines to keep the air moving also helps to prevent frost. Some enterprising growers, like Andrew Donaldson, a grower in New Zealand, he utilizes helicopters that fly low overhead, keeping the air moving. Yeah, that'll do it for sure. All right, back to our story now, finally from Burgundy, France. Whereas the most recent frost occurred, growers were taking no chances after what was considered the worst of its kind in more than 30 years. And this dramatically affected the 2016-2017 harvests. So the next time you're kicking back, enjoying a glass of a Burgundy region Cab Sauv at twilight with that someone special, Remember to raise a glass and toast all of those who worked so hard and created the perfect grape for your enjoyment. Now, I was about to uncork a 2016 J. Lohr Cabernet. Where'd that go? Okay, folks, that's it for today. This day in weather history. I'm kidding. I would not. All right, tomorrow is April 15th, and things got right nutty when we witnessed the most intense snowfall in U.S. history. Where do you hear these numbers? It happened back in the year 1921, so this should be an interesting one to unpack. It's tomorrow on This Day in Weather History with me, your sober host, Chris May.